Okay, so today's tomato review is going to be on the brown plum tomato. Okay, so let's take a look at the brown plum tomato. I don't really know much about this tomato. Only thing I can tell you is that I ordered seeds many years ago from eBay for brown tomatoes, and I ended up getting this. Now, it's an interesting tomato, whatever this tomato is. Like I say, I really don't know what to call it other than brown tomato. There are some lookalikes online that look just like this, in other words, and they're from Russia, and they do have a name, but I'm not 100% sure if that's what this tomato is. I just bought these seeds, and the name of the seeds were called brown tomato seeds, and this is what came out of them. So, as far as the plant and the growing part of it goes, this is a very profusive growing tomato plant. This plant can grow as big as 20 feet long. Each bract will hold about between 6 and 8 or 9 tomatoes off of each bract, about this size you see here. And it'll put out, God, a 20-foot plant can probably put out maybe 30 or 40 of those bracts. So you can literally end up with hundreds of these tomatoes off of one plant. It's a very heavy producing tomato plant. It produces these tomatoes as efficiently as, say, a small little currant tomato plant or a cherry tomato plant. This keeps the pace up with those little cherry tomato plants. It's a very heavy producer. And these tomatoes, I have cooked them before, and they make a terrific tomato sauce. Very terrific tomato sauce. They're not the best for eating raw, from what I remember. But as far as the tomato sauce goes, it's fabulous. It makes a fabulous tomato sauce. So that's about all I know as far as the origin of the tomato. It's most likely from Russia. I don't really know anything else. Like I said, I bought it from eBay. It was just called brown tomato, and that was it. So, but I do believe there is a Russian variety that looks just like this. So it could very well could be that same tomato. So on the inside of this tomato, you can see it's got wilding in the rind. The seeds are usually attached to the rind. This one appears to be. And there's some dark green spots in there. That's all wilding. That's all a good effect of some kind of a wild tomato or an heirloom tomato. It's not a commercial grade tomato. You can see it's bichambered, and there's 2 chambers in it. And you can see the way the seeds kind of sit inside of there. I'll try to get you up close, and hopefully the camera will focus so you can get a nice, good, clear shot of that. And you can see the tops don't always get this dark green effect, but sometimes they do. I've had these tomatoes some years just be completely brown, much more copper toned than what you actually see. These are more red this year with a dark green shoulder. But if I leave these tomatoes out long enough, they'll really get dark red. They'll really turn red eventually in the end. But for the most part, when you're picking them off your plant, they're roughly going to be this color. And it's really a brown, brick brown type of color. It looks a little orange, but it's more brown than anything. I mean, you compare that color to, say, this. Now, this is red. That's what a normal tomato color should look like. And then you look at this. So you can see the difference in the color. So this is a very kind of rich brown red color. It's different in color. And it's actually different than most of my other tomatoes. So I will offer seed for this tomato in the future once I open up a website. Again, I don't know what the name of it is. Maybe I'll give it a name, HR's brown tomato or something. But I can't officially name this because I don't really know what it is. So And as far as size goes, this is like the common average size, like what you see here. They do get a little smaller and they can get a little bit bigger, but this is like mostly the size you're going to see. And like I said, you're going to pick hundreds of these things off of one plant. It's unbelievable how many tomatoes come out of these plants. And this plant that you're looking at now, that this came off of volunteer because I didn't plant brown tomatoes this year. I didn't need to because they usually come up every year for me because it produces so many tomatoes and I don't usually eat all those tomatoes and a lot of them fall. And when they fall, seeds come out of them and then the next year they come up randomly around my yard and areas where I grow these tomatoes. So it's pretty common to see these coming up as a volunteer. So here's one of the volunteers anyway. And here's another look at one of the others. Nice dark green shoulders on that. It's a very beautiful look to it. And here's the cut open part. And we're going to taste test this one right now. And I'll give you an idea what it tastes like. It's got a very interesting flavor dynamics to it. Very interesting flavor dynamics. Right out the gate, it's got like a 25% sweetness and maybe like a 28% on a tangy. So Tangy's just slightly higher, but as far as I'm concerned, the balance is right, but a little bit on the low side. It has a pretty good, stronger than normal tomato overtone, undertone to it. It's got its own tomato overtone, undertone. It's very unique to this tomato. It's very hard to describe, but it doesn't taste too much like any of the other tomatoes. The aftertaste comes and goes relatively quickly, except for when it's in a sauce. Once you turn it into sauce and you add salt and spice to it, the flavor becomes like any tomato sauce. But eating these raw is where I'm trying to give you the idea of what it tastes like. And in between those numbers with the sweet and tangy, in between is a nice watery effect, and the tomato over or undertone kind of carries in afterwards, and you have an after effect for not very long, and then it dissipates quickly. But it does have its own unique tomato flavor. It's not like really, it doesn't taste like any other tomato. It does taste like tomato, but these overtones and undertones are very unique to this tomato. So let me finish this piece now that my palate is adjusted. Skins aren't overly tough on it, but you got to chew them. Like I said, it makes a great sauce, so when you're cooking it in a sauce, all I do is when I go to make sauce with these, I just cut the X, squeeze out the seeds, throw it in a pot, and let the whole thing melt. You're left with one big skin at the end. You just pull all the skins out into a strainer and just kind of squeeze out whatever's left inside the skins, and your skins are out in 2 seconds. So I don't like to blanch my tomatoes to get the skins off first and then make the tomato. That's like a waste of time. Just cut them, pop the seeds out, let the tomatoes cook, start cooking whole, and then scoop them out and just squeeze off squeeze, wear a pair of gloves, of course, but squeeze out the tomato and then just dump the skins, you're good to go. The skins weren't overly tough, but yeah, you did have to chew them a little bit. Wasn't a big deal for me. The texture of it was a little bit creamy, a little bit chalky, but moist at the same time. So it melted in your mouth, but it kind of had like a texture to it, so to speak. It wasn't like just soft and like pudding. It had a little bit of texture to it, but it wasn't unpleasant. And overall, I mean, it's just a pretty good tasting tomato. The tomato flavor kind of did come up to the surface very quickly on that second bite, too. I want to make sure I note that. Whereas the first bite, the tomato flavor didn't develop until after that tangy flavor was swallowed and everything. Then I tasted the tangy flavor to the tomato. But overall rating for this particular tomato, for this size tomato, I'm probably going to rate this one a number 2. And like I said, I've been growing these for many years. They make a great tomato sauce, probably better than most of my other tomatoes. A great tomato sauce. You don't have to cook it down forever to get a decent quality, thick sauce out of it. It tastes really great with sauce. You put a little salt in there, some pepper, oregano, add some chives and garlic to your sauce, and you're going to have a fantastic tasting sauce. Trust me on that. A very good sauce tomato. As far as usage goes, it's really, I mean, yeah, you can put them in salads. You can, I don't know about cutting it up and putting it on hamburgers. I guess you could. You can make like a submarine sandwich and then slice this up for the tomato and put small slices in there. You could use it for different applications, but this is really a sauce tomato. This really does make a fantastic sauce. So, but a rating wise, I'm going to go with a 2 on this. And for all the years I've had it before, it has a great flavor, carries through. Every now and again, you will get one of these that the flavor didn't develop. You just toss it because you're going to have hundreds of these tomatoes. So, and when you're making up a sauce, you're not going to notice one tomato slightly off in flavor or taste. You're not going to notice that. So it's not going to offset your sauce really. If the shoulders are developed enough and are still green on top, like it's not ripened yet, yeah, you would want to remove that from your sauce. But everything else, don't worry about it. It might have a little bit more of a funky overtone to it. It's not going to ruin your sauce. All right, so that's my tomato review on the brown plum tomato from Russia, I think. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.